2022 HolonIQ Global Impact Summit New York version. Today is going to be an amazing day. My name is Maria Spies. I'm the co-CEO of HolonIQ, along with my fellow CEO Patrick Brothers. We welcome you today. It's going to be great conversations. You know, today is going to be fast. We're taking a leaf out of the Pecha Kucha book. If you don't know what Pecha Kucha is, you'll have to look it up, but Pecha Kucha book. So every session is going to be 30 minutes long. At 26 minutes, there's going to be a dimming of lights. At 28 minutes, there's going to be music, soft. 29 minutes, much louder. We need to start moving. The conversations we have today are some of the most important conversations to have. Let's not waste this opportunity. So, you know, every 30 minutes we're going to move over. We don't have a big 2-hour lunch break or anything. Take breaks when you want. You've got the agenda. You should have the agenda. It's out the front if you don't have one. Have a look what you want to go to. The stream rooms, this is the plenary room, and then down the corridor, education, climate, health and education rooms, track rooms. So that's where all the main sort of sessions are going to be. Plenty of opportunity for networking. We're praying that the rain will just disappear and we can use those terraces. The other thing is this, I haven't got it on, but your name tag is your takeaway today. Take it home, put it in water for a few hours, then plant it and you'll have a herb garden. It's a seeded name tag. Give it to the kids. It's going to be fun. But your lanyards, leave with us and we'll reuse them. So that's fantastic, Patrick.
And today, whilst we're going to have some incredible conversations, we're taking them around the world. So today is the start. It's day one of 100 Days of Impact. Next week, we'll be in Mexico City. The week after, East Asia, we'll be in Bangalore in person. We'll be in Singapore. We'll be in Jakarta. We are traveling to Cairo and we'll be at the UN meeting on climate change, COP27, then throughout Europe, starting in London, then Paris, Berlin, and finally Stockholm. None of this would be possible without the support of our sponsors. We're incredibly lucky to have Google Cloud as a strategic sponsor with us around the world. Google Cloud, you'll check in at the back corner over there. We'll also hear from Steve as part of our opening session here today. Global Victoria and Globant will be on our sunny terraces by this afternoon, hopefully, and of course we have a wide collection of sponsors and partners that make all of these sessions around the world possible. Over 500 speakers once we make our way around the world, and of course we're bringing together a massive global community. If you haven't downloaded that app, do so.
So this is just day one of 100 Days of Impact, which goes till the 29th of December. Every single day, download that app, there's something going on. What are the conversations about though? There's really two things. It's about the planet. Zoom right up to 10,000 feet. It's about what's happening, but those things don't happen without humans. And so zooming right down, it's the decisions you make every day or don't make every day, the actions you take or don't take. And so at HolonIQ, we look at things from a high height and we connect data from the bottom. It's no coincidence that we're here in the week of the UN General Assembly where other folks are using frameworks like the Sustainable Development Goals to try to frame and structure progress. Here, today, our focus is on three thematics: climate, education, and health. The three of the most important conversations to have. Let's not waste this time. What we do is we connect data, we connect billions of points of data and try to make those understandable and track trends. We do that through our open source taxonomies. The taxonomies you can see on the wall. We're having sessions later today, but this is the way we track where capital is flowing, where technology is happening, where the gaps are. And so let's join us later today for that.
And there's 6 areas we're going to cover in our opening session that connect across those 3 areas. Again, as Maria mentioned, people and our planet, our global economy and the impact economy and capital driving that innovation, technology and efficacy, outcomes, and proving that we're making a difference. And so these are the 6 themes that we're going to touch on. But before we jump in there, we actually want to hear from you first, and you have some work to do to get started. We're going to switch over to a poll. Grab your phone and team up with somebody next to you who is close. You are going to be a team and be competing with everyone here in the world's largest impact quiz. Scan that QR code or go to menti.com and enter in those numbers, 85095226. I'm sure everyone's well versed in QR codes now. Down the right-hand side, we have 6 teams, 7 teams, 8 teams, 9 teams, 10 teams enrolled. When you hit that page, press that heart. You'll probably be prompted with a team name. You might get a suggestion. No cursing, please. You can enter your name, your organization's name. We just want to make sure that you're all represented or accept that crazy name that's been proposed for you as part of that. 82 teams, 85 teams, this is looking good. Not opening? Could be user error. It could be we've taken down the cellular network as well. We'll wait a little bit, try again. We'll wait another 30 seconds to get as many people in here as possible. We've got 100 teams now.
If you can't get on, just jump in next to somebody.
Yeah, if you can't get in, team up with somebody close to you. We've got 105 teams. No Wi-Fi. We will definitely take down the Wi-Fi network.
Just jump on your cellular. Let's go.
All right, we might make a start. We've got 110 teams ready to compete for the honours of the 2022 New York Impact Quiz Championship. All right, if we can move to the next poll.
Okay, everyone's already.
All right, lots of teams playing today. Get set. These responses are timed. It's not just selecting the correct response, it's being the fastest to select the correct response. Let's move to the first question. All right. How many years on average does it take to add 1 billion people to the world population? How many years does it take to add 1 billion people to our population? How many years does it take? 5 years, 12 years, 20 years?
You've got 5 seconds, everyone.
Years?
This is a timed quiz. Go.
We're warming you up for the day. Time's up.
Okay.
All right, 56 teams.
12 years. Okay.
Looking good. Nice start. Lots of chatter. Let's move to the next. All right, let's see what's happening here. Team.
Okay.
Oh, Team Venture.
Team Venture.
Where's Team Venture?
Too
no,
shy.
Silent. All right, let's go to the next slide. Question 2. The food system is responsible for what percentage of global greenhouse gas emissions? 5%, 15, 25, or 50? No cheating.
Okay.
Nice. All right, great start. There's still time to catch up. Let's check the leaderboard. Oh, Venture's looking good, but Homer.
What is that? Oh, Homer.
And a donut to boot. Maria.
Question 3, let's go. Energy, education and healthcare represent how much of global GDP? 5 trillion, 10 trillion, 20 or 50 trillion? It's a tough one. 50 trillion. This is going to sort everyone out. Okay.
Oh, big leaderboard changes. Oh, BCG, look out.
Jen Cuts, well done. Storm. Okay, question 4 of 8. Next one, let's go. How much venture capital was invested in climate tech, ed tech and health tech combined last year? 20 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion or 250 billion? What's your choice? Oh, 100 billion.
Nice.
Well done.
It's a pretty smart crew.
I know.
All right, let's check the leaderboard. Jen Cutts is looking
Jen
good.
Cutts is fast and accurate. I'd like to meet that lady.
All right, BCG's on the prowl. Let's check out the next question. Question 5 of 8. We're nearly there. There's time to recover. Which area of AI is perceived to have the highest potential in impact across climate, education, and health? Vision AI, voice AI, natural language processing, or machine learning? Vision, voice, natural language processing, or machine learning? Time's up. Nice.
Yes.
Lots of potential in those other areas. Oh, BCG, right.
Winning.
Question 6. Answer fast to get more points. What percentage of the S&P 500 CEOs are women?
1%, 6%, 11%, or an optimistic 21%?
We had to put, yeah. They can't all be good.
Oh.
Right, 6%.
6%, a paltry 6%. We must do something about this. Okay, next question. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see who's leading. Bell. Nice. Okay, question 7. Almost there. Which region of the world topped HolonIQ's Global Impact Index? East Asia, Europe, North America, or South Asia? Global Impact Index.
If only you knew, you would have studied.
There you go.
We'll learn more about that later. All right, some familiar teams climbing the leaderboard.
Okay, Mika's back on top.
It's not too late. There's one more question.
Okay, final question. See who's going to win the prize. Which region is expected to have the fastest growing population in the second half of this century? Asia, Africa, Europe, or the Americas? Fastest growing population in the second half of this century. Africa, fastest growing. Good job, everyone.
All right, let's see the final results. The 2022 New York Impact
BCG.
Quiz.
Good job.
BCG. Nice.
Team BCG, you can see us later for a truly awesome prize.
Yeah. I would be disappointed if one of those firms didn't win. All right, let's kick on with the rest of the presentation. So that was a bit of a warm-up to get you involved. We'll be issuing credentials afterwards, I'm kidding. Let's jump in and go across those, have a look across those 6 areas that we looked at. We wanted to hear, there are so many experts in this room, so many people with phenomenal insight and expertise, so we thought we would kick off. Let's look at population. The purpose of this opening session is to reflect on some data points that we think will be important in our conversations. This is world population since 10,000 BCE. What is so frightening when we zoom out and look at population is just how incredibly fast population has grown really only recently. Because you are now quizmasters, you know that over the last few billion, it's taken about 12 years to add a billion. It took till 1803 in all of time to get our first billion. You can see it's slowed down. It's slowing down even further. We all know population is not distributed just by country name. There is an incredible population over in Asia. As we learned, there is a massive population growth happening in Africa as well, which is a little bit more evident here. As we look out to the end of the century, we see across the major continents, we see that population growth. In North America, which is in red, Latin America in yellow, Europe in that tan, Asia still expanding aggressively, and what's a surprise to many is just how rapid the growth in Africa is now and how it will power the back half of this century in terms of population growth. This has incredible implications across all of the areas we're looking at. If we bring that time zone back into 2050, we see still a growth story. 2 billion more learners in education, 2 billion more in the health system, 2 billion more impacting our planet, consuming and supporting through their behaviour. We'll see an extra billion people through secondary school and an extra billion in post-secondary. Our schools and universities aren't prepared to deliver the outcomes we expect today, let alone we're loading on another 2 billion people.
Planet is obviously critically important in what's happening in the planet. And so this is part of our discussions today. It's really been only over the last 70 years that sort of annual CO2 emissions have exploded. The implications of that, of course, for the planet are known to everybody. But really, what we're seeing here is this massive spike from fossil fuels, emissions from fossil fuels. And this is going to change the shape. There's a lot of work going on, and we're going to hear today from many teams who are doing a lot of work to try to sort of support the change here. What a lot of people don't understand, though, that is our food system does represent about 26% of global emissions. And so over time, whether it be livestock, crops, land use for food, really we do need to think very, very carefully about reinventing our food systems, given the pull it has on global emissions. And not unrelated is what's happened and what has happened in terms of our natural environment. 20% of the world's forests have already been lost, half of that just in this century. And so you can see, based on the reinventing these food systems, what we're seeing here is grazing and crops taking up a larger and larger chunk of the world's of Earth, essentially. And so this is, diminished our carbon sinks. And so, there's these interrelated, difficult problems that happen only sort of over time, over a long period of time. When you zoom out, it's not a long period of time, but for us, it's a long period of time. Like this chart, you may have seen this before. It's a mapping of the average Earth temperature over the last 200 years. And so these tiny little increment changes happening every single day add up to something quite significant. We all know this. This is part of the discussion today. You can see here the sort of mapping of the average Earth's temperature and what that looks like when you put it all together.
So let's look at the economy, not just the global economy, but also the impact economy, which has an incredible role to play in powering and fueling, being part of that. There's over $250 trillion of residential real estate. That's the value of all of the residential real estate everywhere in the world. Our global economy is about 100 trillion. There's about 120 trillion of listed debt, 80 trillion on the stock exchanges around the world, 11 trillion of gold. You get the picture. Lots of money, an enormous amount of capital. On the right-hand side, you can see global GDP mapped to markets like healthcare, 9 trillion, energy, 8 trillion, and education, 6 to 7 trillion. This is a massive part of the global impact economy. One of the things you're going to hear about today is our Global Impact 3000. We break down into, say, the Global Climate Tech 1000. Today, we're going to announce the Global Climate Tech 200, the Health Tech 200, and the Ed Tech 200 here in North America. And we'll do that in every part of the world that we travel to identify the 1000 or the 3000, and that's what we're mapping here. This is our platform. The team or customers doing R&D, every one of those dots is one of those 3,000 startups that we've identified. They're coloured by their membership of the taxonomy you see on the wall on the right-hand side, and they're connected if they have similar business models, similar underlying technologies, if they're similar in the way they're approaching the market. And by analysing that using advanced technology and machine learning, we can then find concentrations and clusters. We can find white space. We can find areas that are connecting different important parts. We can look at a geographic overlay and see which parts of the world are specialising in different areas of the global impact taxonomy. We can see where capital is being invested or not invested, as the case may be. Then what we do is we zoom into specific areas. Why is the food system so broadly distributed there? It's connected to education, it's connected to climate. Education management systems, much more tightly packed in together, but still connected to the climate tech and to the health tech. And medical research, really broadly spread as well.
You can't really innovate much without capital. Everyone knows this. You need money and capital in order to make innovation happen. So where is the capital going? And we track every single sort of capital flow in these areas of education, health and climate. And what you can see here, for those of you who got the quiz, over $100 billion in venture capital has gone into these three sectors over the last year. And the way in which that breaks down, you can see there in education on the left-hand side there, $17.4 billion. In climate tech, we're expecting $40 billion by the end of this year, venture capital only, to be invested into new systems and technology, and same with health, but much larger. The way we break that down, according to our taxonomy, we then can see that, for example, renewables, the solar and so on, the way in which capital is flowing there, so this is each chunk of these is the size of capital flowing into the areas, alternative storage through to ag and food, and right through, particularly in mobility and so on. And data and finance are infrastructure for innovation. And so this is a map essentially of where venture capital is going into climate tech, and this is ed tech. So from the left-hand side there, digital content, management systems, again, infrastructure to enable institutions to deliver digitally, right through into new models. You know, old models are not going to serve us well in new worlds, so new models for education, right through to experiencing learnings, whether it be XR, games and simulation. Tutoring has been massive over the last year, you can see here, but mainly, you know, a big chunk of venture capital is going into upskilling, reskilling. And in the health area, what we see here is prevention and diagnosis on the left-hand side, right through into, again, management systems and infrastructure, supporting the industry to innovate, essentially. A lot of capital going there, medical devices, but particularly in this research area. So discovery, you know, new discoveries in terms of health tech, essentially. So this is mapping where the funding is going the first half of this year.
Conversation of capital wouldn't be complete without looking at the capital markets, public companies. This is the top 50 public companies by market cap, so Apple, 2 trillion something, coloured by their direct relationship, positive or negative, with each of the areas that we're going to look at today. The point being that some of our largest companies around the world either have a massive supporting or massive detracting role in achieving the goals that we're seeking. This is also, as you saw, a massive source of capital. Coming on our platform very shortly, we've just indexed 10 million government contracts. We think the government and public supply chain is perhaps the most important source of capital for us to analyse. You can see here the trend of green contracts. We've been using machine learning to pull out all of the contracts there that are related to our climate and green economy. You can see the rise in the value this year so far, 230 billion. This is not global, it's mostly Europe and North America. And we'll piece together the rest of the world as we go.
It's no surprise that technology is going to play a very, very big part in innovating for the future. And impact tech, so impact tech in ed tech, health tech and climate tech represent, in terms of spend, over $1 trillion of annual expenditure globally. This is a very, very big amount of money in the world. It's sort of hidden and fragmented, but when you pull it all together, there's a lot. Advanced technologies, AI, XR, blockchain, robotics and so on, are playing an increasing role in all parts of the value chain, education, climate and health. But really, we're only at the very beginning of this. Advanced technologies haven't really made their way into core business processes, mainly. And we're seeing some example of this happening across different industries, but there's actually just a long way to go.
What could go wrong?
This is the training video. This is how people are learning how to train and train in sales. It's happening right now.
So as part of our deep dive into artificial intelligence, we've recently been querying our global community on where they perceive the highest level of impact across these different parts of the impact taxonomy. You can see here, health really strong in vision tech, climate not so strong in climate tech, natural language processing really strong, but everyone turning to machine learning at the moment as a source of inspiration and impact across the impact sectors as well. We also looked across our global taxonomy for the areas that people perceived AI would have the highest potential as well. In climate, it was renewables, the biosphere, and the food system. In education, it was language learning, testing, and assessment. And in health, it was diagnosis, health systems, and perhaps no surprise, biotech as those areas. We also asked what was the reason for adopting artificial intelligence, and across all of them it was either in different languages. In education it was improving learner outcomes, in health it was improving health outcomes and patient outcomes, and in climate it was about reducing emissions as well. But second to that across all of these areas was reducing cost for all of these operations.
And as technologies are moving forward into these impact sectors, measuring outcomes and efficacy of those uses of technologies has become the topic of the century, and lots of discussion about that today. How do we actually measure? And we ask our global network, what support do you need, ed tech, climate tech, health tech, what support do you need to better evidence outcomes? How are you doing it? And the biggest result there you can see is that they're looking to partner with researchers and institutions in order to help design these outcomes. I mean, diversity outcomes are also under scrutiny, as they should be, and every year we do a report on the state of global women's leadership in these areas, and from the very left-hand side, which is sort of quite paltry, the number of women in at CEOs at IPO, tiny 1%, heads of state, tiny 1%, all the way through, even in the EdTech, Climate Tech and Health Tech 1000, we're seeing 6 and 7% women leaders, right through to more encouraging, but at the front line of these areas are lots of women. So we need to push those orange graphs right back, make them bigger at the left-hand side there.
The last area of impact that we've been looking at is at a country level. We wanted to support people leading countries, people leading ministries and departments around the world with feedback and inspiration. And so we're launching the Global Impact Index, which is measuring the social and economic impact that these countries are having for the planet and for their people. We've looked across the three areas we always focus on, but we've also added equity and governance and technology and economic conditions. So this is not a ranking of the biggest countries or the fanciest countries. This is the countries that are having the most impact. Here are all of the 50 indicators that make up our prototype index for 2023. We'll be working with, dare I say, nearly 100 academic institutions around the world. We're also seeking those academic partnerships to refine the selection. You can see everything here from emissions to forest change, government expenditure on education and health, suicide rates, prison populations. This is a quick look, a sneak preview of how the rankings have come out in the prototype. Iceland is a great example. It's not usually anywhere near the top, it's tiny, but we're not biasing for size, we're biasing for impact, and we're looking very purely. We know we need to be really careful about how we think about those, and that's why we'll be using this prototype to provide feedback. The Nordics are dominating the tops of the rankings, as is Europe as well. We'll share these as part of our follow-up information from the summit so that you can investigate, interrogate, and hold your country leaders and ministers accountable for powering the areas that they're responsible for as well.
We've come to the end of the very first session, but only the beginning of the day. Now we're heading into a panel, so we'll do a bit of a changeover. There will then be a couple of other presentations. We'll have a break at 10:15 to go into the rooms. I think we're going to change over now. Thank you so much, everyone. Just the beginning. Make sure you have those conversations. Thank you.